Neanderthals, Homo neanderthalensis, were an extinct species of archaic humans who lived across Eurasia during the Middle to Late Pleistocene epoch. They were our closest extinct relatives. Key facts about Neanderthals. Time period. They lived from approximately 400,000 to 40,000 years ago. Location. Their range extended across Europe and parts of Asia, from Portugal and Wales in the west to the Altai Mountains in Siberia in the east. Physical characteristics. Neanderthals had a distinctive appearance with a long, low skull, a prominent brow ridge, a large nose, and stocky bodies well suited to cold environments. Intelligence and behavior. They were intelligent and adaptable, skilled hunters, capable of controlling fire and creating tools. Contrary to earlier portrayals, they were not primitive cavemen, and evidence suggests they had complex behaviors, including caring for the sick and burying their dead. Tool use. Neanderthals utilized sophisticated stone tools, including spears, scrapers, and saws. They were proficient at hunting large Ice Age animals. Interbreeding with modern humans. Neanderthals interbred with modern humans, Homo sapiens. Evidence suggests that most non-African populations today have approximately 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA. Extinction. The exact reasons for their extinction are still debated, but theories include climate change, competition with modern humans for resources, disease, and interbreeding. Relationship to modern humans. Neanderthals and modern humans shared a common ancestor, but they were a distinct species. Genetic and fossil evidence suggests their lineages separated at least 500,000 years ago. Legacy of Neanderthals. Although Neanderthals went extinct, their legacy continues to live on in the DNA of many modern humans. Studies suggest that some Neanderthal genes may have influenced traits such as hair color, skin tone, and immune responses. Neanderthals, or Homo neanderthalensis, or sometimes H. Sapiens neanderthalensis. Neanderthal extinction occurred roughly 40,000 years ago with the immigration of modern humans, Cro-Magnons. But Neanderthals in Gibraltar may have persisted for thousands of years longer. The first recognized Neanderthal fossil, Neanderthal 1, was discovered in 1856 in the Neander Valley, Germany. At first, Neanderthal 1 was considered to be one of the lower races in accord with historical race concepts. As more fossils were discovered through the early 20th century, Neanderthals became characterized most especially by Marcel and Boole as a unique species of underdeveloped human. By the mid-20th century, human evolution was described as progressing from an ape-like ancestor through a Neanderthal phase, ending in modern humans. This gave way to the out-of-Africa theory in the 1970s. With the sequencing of Neanderthal genetics first in 2010, it was discovered that Neanderthals interbred with modern humans. Neanderthal anatomy is characterized by a long and low skull, a heavy and rounded brow ridge, supraorbital torus, an occipital bun at the back of the skull, strong teeth and jaws, a wide chest, and short limbs. These traits gradually became more frequent through the Middle Pleistocene of Europe, possibly due to natural selection in a cold climate, as well as genetic drift when populations collapsed during glacial periods. Neanderthals would have also been effective sprinters. Neanderthal specimens vary in height from 4 feet 10 inches to 5 feet 10 inches, with average male dimensions of maybe 5 feet 5 inches and 165 pounds. While Neanderthal brain volume averaged higher than any living population, 100 CUN for males and 89 CUN for females, their brain organization differed from modern humans in areas related to cognition and language, which could explain the comparative simplicity of Neanderthal behavior compared to Cro-Magnons in the archaeological record. Neanderthals maintained a low population and suffered inbreeding depression, which may have impeded their ability to progress technologically. They produced Mysterian stone tools, a Middle Paleolithic industry, maintained and might have created fire, and possibly wore blankets and ponchos. They predominantly ate whatever was abundant close to home, usually big game as well as plants and mushrooms. Neanderthals were frequently victims of major physical traumas and animal attacks. Examples of Paleolithic art have been inconclusively attributed to Neanderthals, namely possible ornaments made from bird claws and feathers, collections of unusual objects including crystals and fossils, and engravings. Neanderthals uncommonly buried their dead, but this is not indicative of a religious belief of an afterlife. Neanderthals are named after the Neander Valley in which the first identified specimen was found. The valley was spelled Neanderthal and the species was spelled Neanderthaler in German until the spelling reform of 1901. A number of Neanderthal fossils had been discovered before their antiquity was fully understood. The first Neanderthal remains Inges II, a skull, were discovered in 1829 by Dutch/Belgian prehistorian Philippe Charles Schmerling in the Grots d'Anges, Belgium. He concluded that these poorly developed human remains must have been buried at the same time and by the same causes as the coexisting remains of extinct animal species. In 1848, Gibraltar 1 from Forbes Quarry was presented to the Gibraltar Scientific Society by their Secretary Lieutenant Edmund Henry Rene Flint, but was thought to be a modern human skull. In 1856, local schoolteacher Johann Karl Fuhlrott recognized bones from Klein Feldhofer Grot in Neander Valley Neanderthal 1 as distinct from modern humans, and gave them to German anthropologist Hermann Schaffhausen to study in 1857. It comprised the cranium, thigh bones, right arm, left humerus and ulna, left ilium, hip bone, part of the right shoulder blade, and pieces of the ribs. Research history: William K. Gregory's The Family Tree of Man exhibit at the American Museum of Natural History, 1924. 1. Notharctus. 2. Propleopithecus. 3. Dryopithecus. 4. Java man. 5. Piltdown man. 6. Heidelberg man. 7. Neanderthal man. 8. Cro-Magnon man. 9. Australian blackfellow, pejorative term for Aboriginal Australians. 10. Hottentot, pejorative term for South African pastoralists. 11. Chinese. 12. American Caucasian. Following Charles Darwin's 1859 On the Origin of Species, Fuhlrott and Schaffhausen argued that Neanderthal 1 represents a primitive lower human form, aligning more closely with non-human apes, as well as Negroids, Eskimos, and Aboriginal Australians, which were variably classified as separate species or subspecies of human at the time. Bull suggested two different lineages existed in Ice Age Europe, a more evolved one descending from the British Piltdown man, a hoax, to the French Grimaldi man, a Cro-Magnon, which would culminate with modern Europeans, and a less evolved dead-end lineage leading from the German Heidelberg man to Neanderthal man. As the focus of human origins shifted from Europe to East Asia, out of Asia hypothesis, by the 1930s and 40s with discoveries such as Java man and Peking man, as well as the marginalization of Piltdown man, the question of a Neanderthal phase in human evolution once again became a topic of discussion. Among identified archaic humans, Neanderthals are most closely related to Denisovans based on nuclear DNA and DNA analyses. Denisovans are an enigmatic group of late Pleistocene humans only recognizable by a genetic signature. Likely due to more recent interbreeding episodes, the mitochondrial DNA, mtDNA, passed down maternally, and Y chromosome DNA, passed down paternally, are more similar between Neanderthals and modern humans than between Neanderthals and Denisovans. Similarly, for 130,000-year-old fossils from the Cima de los Huesos are more closely related to Neanderthals using nDNA, but their mtDNA aligns more closely with Denisovans. Typical Neanderthal skull traits appear in the European fossil record near the beginning of the Middle Pleistocene, in specimens usually classified as H. heidelbergensis. These pre-Neanderthal seem to have gradually accreted these traits, Neanderthalization, as populations adapted to the cold environment, evolving a hyperarctic physique. Circumpolar peoples, namely Inuit groups, are often used as modern Neanderthal analogs to study hyperarctic adaptations. Additionally, glacial periods may have forced populations into small refugia, reducing genetic diversity, leading to the development of other typical Neanderthal traits through genetic drift or pleiotropy. The 120,000 to 140,000-year-old Israeli Nesha Ramla remains may represent one such source population which would recolonize Europe following the penultimate glacial period. The occurrence of typical Neanderthal traits in the Middle Pleistocene was highly variable even among individuals of the same population. The speed of Neanderthalization may have also been impeded by gene flow between Western Europe and Africa, exemplified by anomalous specimens which lack typical Neanderthal traits, such as soprano man. Genetic data usually estimates that Neanderthals diverged from modern humans sometime during the early Middle Pleistocene. Neanderthals and Denisovans are more closely related to each other than they are to modern humans, meaning the Neanderthal/Denisovan split occurred sometime later. Before splitting, Neanderthals/Denisovans, or Neandersovans, migrating out of Africa into Europe apparently interbred with an unidentified superarchaic human species who were already present there. These superarchaics were the descendants of a very early migration out of Africa around 1.9 million years ago. Genetic data indicates that Neanderthals, at least after 100,000 years ago, maintained a small population with low genetic diversity, weakening natural selection and proliferating harmful mutations. It is unclear how long European populations suffered this population stress, or to what extent it influenced Neanderthalization. Neanderthal skull from Tabun Cave, Israel, at the Israel Museum. The Neanderthals were the first human species to permanently occupy Europe. While pre-Neanderthal are mostly identified around Western Europe, classic Neanderthals are recorded across Europe as well as Southwest and Central Asia, up to the Altai Mountains in southern Siberia. Pre- and early Neanderthals seem to have continuously occupied only France, Spain, and Italy, although some appear to have moved out of this core area to form temporary settlements eastward, without leaving Europe. Nonetheless, southwestern France has the highest density of sites for pre- and classic Neanderthals. The southernmost find was recorded at Shukba Cave, Levant. Reports of Neanderthals from the North African Jebel Irhoud and Hawafdi have been re-identified as H. sapiens. Their easternmost presence is recorded at Denisova Cave, Siberia 85 degrees east. The southeast Chinese Maba man, a skull, shares several physical attributes with Neanderthals, although these may be the result of convergent evolution rather than Neanderthals extending their range to the Pacific Ocean. The northernmost bound is generally accepted to have been 55 degrees north, with unambiguous sites known between 50–53 degree N, but this is difficult to assess because glacial advances destroy most human remains. Middle Paleolithic artifacts have been found up to 60 degrees north on the Russian plains, but these are more likely attributed to modern humans. During the worm glaciation 70 to 20,000 years ago, it is possible Neanderthal range expanded and contracted as the ice retreated and grew, respectively, to avoid permafrost areas, residing in certain refuge zones during glacial maxima. Stable environments with mild mean annual temperatures may have been the most suitable Neanderthal habitats. Like modern humans, Neanderthals probably descended from a very small population with an effective population the number of individuals who can bear or father children of 3,000 to 12,000 approximately. Neanderthals maintained this low population, proliferating weakly harmful genes due to the reduced effectivity of natural selection. Archaeological evidence suggests that the initial Cro-Magnon population was 10 times higher than Neanderthals. Neanderthals may have been at a demographic disadvantage due to a lower fertility rate, a higher infant mortality rate, or a combination of the two. In a sample of 206 Neanderthals, based on the abundance of young and mature adults in comparison to other age demographics, about 80% of them above the age of 20 died before reaching 40. This high mortality rate was probably due to their high-stress environment. Infant mortality was estimated to have been very high for Neanderthals, about 43% in northern Eurasia. Due to their low population and proliferation of deleterious mutations, many Neanderthal genes were probably selected out of the modern human gene pool, negative selection. Similarly, a large portion of surviving introgression appears to be non-coding, junk, DNA with few biological functions. Some Neanderthal-derived genes, nonetheless, may have functional implications related to metabolism, brain function, and skeletal and muscular development. Some genes may have helped immigrating modern human populations acclimatize faster, such as genes related to immune response. Neanderthals in the Siberian Altai Mountains interbred with the local Denisovan population, and it may have been a common occurrence here. About 17% of the genome of one Altai Denisovan specimen derived from Neanderthals. The extinction of Neanderthals was part of the broader late Pleistocene megafaunal extinction event. Neanderthals were replaced by modern humans, indicated by the near-complete replacement of Middle Paleolithic Mysterian stone technology with modern human Upper Paleolithic Aurignacian stone technology across Europe. The Middle to Upper Paleolithic transition, from 39,000 to 41,000 years ago. Neanderthals may have persisted in Spain for longer, but the dates of the latest Mysterian and earliest Aurignacian are poorly constrained. In Catalonia and Aragon, northern Spain, the Mysterian may have survived to about 39,000 years ago, and in southern Spain and Gibraltar potentially 32,000 to 35,000 years ago. Similar refuge zones have also been proposed on other temperate European peninsulas, namely Italy, the Balkans, and Crimea. Historically, the cause of extinction of Neanderthals and other archaic humans was viewed under an imperialistic guise, with the superior invading modern humans, exterminating and replacing the inferior species. When sapiens began to expand and spread, he eliminated the other contemporary races, including Neanderthals, just as the white man drove out the Australian Aborigines and the North American Indians. In general, the extinction of Neanderthals is ascribed predominantly to competition with modern humans. The success of modern humans over Neanderthals is usually attributed to a higher birth rate and population, better long-distance mobility, and more complex technologies and subsistence strategies. Some Neanderthal populations may have also been assimilated into modern human populations rather than being ecologically outcompete. Assimilation had long been hypothesized with supposed hybrid specimens, and was revitalized with the discovery of archaic human DNA in modern humans. Similarly, the Châtelperronian industry of central France and northern Spain may represent a culture of Neanderthals adopting modern human techniques via acculturation. Other ambiguous transitional cultures include the Italian Uluzian industry and the Central European Cilician industry. Neanderthal extinction has also been ascribed to their low population as well as the resulting mutational meltdown, making them less adaptable to major environmental changes or new diseases introduced by immigrating modern humans. It is unclear if climatic degradation would have severely impacted Neanderthals given how many glacial periods they persisted through in Europe. If areas were depopulated of Neanderthals as a consequence of climate change, specifically Heinrich Event 4, or a natural disaster, the Campanian ignimbrite eruption, Neanderthals may not have been as fast as modern humans in recolonizing. The Loschamp event 39,000 to 42,000 years ago may have increased ultraviolet radiation, disproportionately affecting Neanderthals who lacked protective fitted clothes, and may not have utilized ochre as sunscreen to the extent Cro-Magnons did.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification icon for the latest videos as they are released. Thanks for watching and catch you in the next one. Ciao for now.